Hey everybody, welcome to the Rotowire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. I'm Jeff Erickson here with Fred Zinkie from Yahoo and from Rotowire's podcast. A lot of baseball going on. Fred, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. A little aggravated at the Reds bullpen, which means I'm more aggravated at the Reds management for how they built the bullpen and let everybody go that was good, and or at least anybody that made any sort of money whatsoever, promising to rebuild or to reallocate that money and then just pocketing it. So I'm a little grumpy about that. It's only the middle of June. It's a very winnable division, but the bullpen has just cost them continuously. They got by finally, though, today, only because the Twins bullpen was just as bad.
Yes, I was going to say, you can't get too grumpy after a win. You have to, you're throwing this in the face of Twins fans. But if TJ Antone didn't come off the IL today, would the Reds have won the game? He
gave up a big homer. I don't know, man.
Actually, it's true. But then he did get a couple outs. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I understand your frustration as a Reds fan. That being said, bullpens are so up and down from one year to the next, and the Reds, they're 500. They can maybe. Would you turn around as a Reds fan if they picked up a couple relievers in the next month and, you know what I mean, and rebuilt this bullpen a little bit? I'm not saying Iglesias level relievers, but what if they picked up a couple of guys who are throwing okay this year?
I'd be happy.
I don't even think they're going to do that.
I don't think they are either. And no. I think some of this is, I think there's going to be a lot of teams on the margins like the Reds that aren't going to invest at the trade deadline because they've got the big CBA coming up at the here. Joe G chimes in right away, and I agree with him on this. Sims is being overused and not being used correctly. Yeah, and this is the kind of thing we've been beating on here a little bit. Yeah, I mean, they're using him a lot and, bringing him sometimes in the 6th, sometimes in the 8th, sometimes in the 9th. I don't mind the ace reliever concept as long as it's being, there's some rhyme or reason to it. And I don't think their rhyme or reason is there. I think David Bell is just like putting out fires left and right. I don't think he's really like has a plan. I think he just goes to, oh, got to do this. Oh, got to do that. Let's do a double switch. I think he does that a lot. I think Sims is actually a good reliever still. I think there's hope for Amir Garrett, although, man, he just, every time I start to count on him, it beats me down. But I think I trust Sims and Antone a little bit and really nobody else. Sean Doolittle, unfortunately, I think he's done. He had a good stretch in May and he's just been awful again in June. He's part of the reason why they were in this situation. Hembree had to throw 2 innings last night because Doolittle couldn't hold a lead in the 10th inning after the Reds had gotten a 2-run lead. So I don't know. I'm just a lot of angst, and it's always Reds angst on the show. I apologize for that. I know people don't always love when I go off on the Reds, but it just happened, so it's fresh on my mind.
Yes. For everyone listening, who will listen to this later on iTunes or wherever. Yes, the game did just finish a few minutes ago, so it is fresh. And I will say, directing your anger at Reds management makes sense because if you were expecting Sean Doolittle to be a reliable reliever at this point in his career, all 6 months of the season, you were expecting way too much. He could be a complementary piece in a bullpen, but he was probably a little too high on their bullpen depth chart. Heath Hembree, same thing, right from the get-go. Sims had been on a decent run. I've got him from May 25th till yesterday. He had thrown 12 innings over that stretch, 6 saves, a .75 ERA, a 1.25 WHIP. So 1.25 WHIP's not really that great, but a lot of strikeouts, 18 and 12 innings. He had been okay. Do you think Sims is you would roster him in every league? I'd say maybe not 10 teams, but 12s I would.
Yeah, I would still roster him. I am rostering him. I mean, I don't think they're going to say, okay, he can no longer close. I think it's more just, hey, it didn't happen well this time. We need to get him some rest. They are off Wednesday, could pitch Thursday, but Sims is still, to me, the best bet to lead the team in saves the rest of the way. Team pitcher outside the organization X, maybe if they do trade for anybody, but they have to be close enough too. They got to make sure that they don't lose too much ground to the Brewers and the Cardinals. I think that's the thing that I'm worried about more than anything else there. And the Cubs, although the Cubs are really struggling too right now. Everybody's struggling. And I just posted this in our chat. A good point from Jason Collette. We're going to see the number of pens enter the quote-unquote gassed phase because pitchers are going shorter into games, which means we're leaning heavy on the relievers. Look at the Padres. Jace Tingler, we talked about this earlier, how their bullpen's going to get taxed. They were already down Drew Pomerantz. They're already down a couple Morejon, a couple other pitchers in that bullpen. I think a lot of teams are going to enter that. Where are we going to find relievers? I mean, some teams are better at finding them in the minors, but where are we going to find these guys?
Yes, this is the problem, and I think my Blue Jays have experienced this maybe more than any team. Like
Yes.
the Blue Jays bullpen is the only reason that they have fallen out of the race. Like they are a 500 team right now who probably should be 5 or 6 games above 500, but their bullpen's just had an awful run of injuries, bad timing. Certain guys like Chatwood, they'll pitch well, then in an important situation and get lit up, and then in an unimportant situation they'll pitch well. Like it's just been just an awful run, and I think it's true. The problem is as we see these bullpens falter, we see what managers are doing these days, and they're just going to a full blown committee, and you don't know from one day to the next. It doesn't help fantasy owners at all. Like it used to be, this closer like Hansel Robles blew a save today. Used to be a closer blows a couple saves, and then the manager just comes out and says, well, we're using this other guy from now on. Now it's not. Now it's committees, and then we're all left guessing, and then we don't know who to grab, and I don't know if any of them are worth using. Like, for example, Sims, like you said, is probably the most likely of the current Reds to lead the team and saves the rest of the season. I think I might rather just have TJ Antone on my team the rest of the way than Sims. And I might just take the ratios from Antone, and I'm not sure. It's probably close, but I know there's more upside with Sims because Sims could get 15 more saves, but I might just take Antone in the ratios.
Yeah, and you're going to steal some wins, like Antone, vultured one today, but other times, there'll be cases there where they're going to, he's just going to be pitching the 7th and 8th innings and steal a win, when then Sims will come in and get the save. But Antone's the better pitcher, so I get it. I think that's another way of approaching it there. I think it's also this is a weird year. It's hard to draw conclusions from this year because we're coming off a 60-game season last year. Weird ramp up schedules and all that. We knew pitching was going to be a problem getting innings, but I also think that, as good as some of the results from, the stat revolution has done, the analytical revolution has created, especially third time through the order, some other issues there. I think the trade-off is, we're going to burn out these bullpens. It's an unintended consequence. Okay, well, you can't, these starters are going 5 innings, 4 2/3. We're not managing to the win. Okay, all these things are good in the short term, but there's a long-term effect. There's a reason why there's a value on getting pitchers to go deep into games. And the funny thing is, the Reds actually got that today. Wade Miley went 7, only allowed 2 runs. And on a day where the ball is flying out, he pitched great.
Yeah, absolutely. Does this make you think that so everything we talked about, like bullpens are going to run out of steam, we're seeing some starting pitchers starting to run out of steam because they've already hit the point now where they're like past the innings they threw last year, and we're going to blow way past that. Does it make you feel like you should just take your innings, should have already taken your innings where you could get them, and should continue to do that because maybe by late in the season, it's just your fantasy pitching staff's going to be running on fumes at some point in August or September, and it might be better to not need more strikeouts and to not need, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder if you should have just been grabbing not any 2-start pitcher, but trying to just maximize innings, strikeouts, therefore hopefully wins, and then get yourself in a position where you don't have to pluck pitchers off waivers. I mean, hopefully we see AAA pitchers who can help us later in the season. They might not be like Logan Gilbert's, but hopefully we see like some decent AAA pitchers who can help us later in the season. But again, they didn't throw any innings last year, or hardly any innings.
Right. We're going to run into the same problem with them too. By the way, Logan Gilbert is stabilized.
Absolutely.
He's pitched pretty well lately. He's the one guy, Lynch, Manoah, we'll talk about him because news came out on him today. In fact, I'm going to write that down so I remember to bring him up with you. But we've seen, Jackson Kowar was terrible. Lynch, in the case of, not Lynch, I'm sorry, Logan Gilbert, struggled a couple first times out, but has really settled down pretty well lately, and makes you wonder, like, maybe some of these other guys just give them time. Tariq Skubal's gotten better.
Absolutely.
Lately. Casey Mize has gotten better after a bumpy time. It's almost as if these guys need to learn how to pitch at the major league level. Weird.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. The play with a lot of these prospects. I just put an article, a Yahoo article today with Wander Franco is like, I think Franco's going to be really good. I mean, that kind of goes like, this is a like who debuts today, like this is gonna be like a great prospect. This isn't just like a good, like he's number one for a while because there's no one else to be the number one prospect right now. Like this is a great prospect. I think he's gonna be great. That being said, like I would totally float, if I had him in a trading league, I would totally float his name out on the trade market right now, because with a lot of these prospects, what we've seen is you can get the most for them basically right before or right around the date of their debut. And then the play on a lot of these guys might be, if you don't have them, let them play for a couple of weeks, hope they hit 150, and then see if you can trade for them, you know, at a drastically diminished price.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad play. And I think Franco will, you know, the thing is, I think anybody who's had Franco all along has been waiting for today, waiting for this Wander Franco day. Finally, I get him. It's going to be tough to try to convince that person to sell.
Yeah. Some of the names, though, that I saw, now you don't know if they're keepers. Like in Yahoo, like it doesn't, like, but you can go to the Yahoo, we've talked about this before, trade market page, but I'm seeing like one-on-ones for Freddie Freeman, one-on-ones for Bryce Harper, one-on-ones for Trevor Bauer. Again, they could be dynasty or keeper leagues. You don't know. And I don't think you need to get that much for him. Like, but if you can get an established, if someone else in your league is just like, this guy could be my savior, I need hitting, this guy could be my savior, and you have him, and maybe you need pitching, you could probably get yourself a pretty high end arm for him right now. I'm not saying you get Trevor Bauer in like that's a bad trade, but you could probably get a pretty good pitcher for him right now.
Yeah. So I did pull it up. Aaron Nola straight up for Franco.
Yeah.
Not in a non-keeper league. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wander Franco for Javi Baez. What do you think about that?
Fair. I've been telling people to trade away Baez all season, but he is a bit of he's a counting stat monster. So I might take Baez and just cross my fingers that the homers and the steals just keep on coming.
Yeah. The funny thing though with Baez is, he got benched yesterday after that base running snafu.
The batting average is low. Maybe I would take Franco. The problem is Baez is on pace for like 35 homers and 20 steals. Like that's nothing to sneeze at. Like even with a low batting average. So I think Baez, I don't think Baez is a good player though. I'd probably pass on that one. Okay. Big picture. I would pass on that one probably because I don't believe in Baez. And if I can get Baez, I can probably just get that person to give me someone different off their roster who's Baez good, and I believe in more.
Right. I'm just looking at some of these, and I wish we could just put a filter on for non-keeper leagues, but straight up for Adalberto Mondesi. Frankly, if I'm a Mondesi guy, if I have him rostered, I might be without him for another month. I think I take that.
Yeah. I don't think we know much totally on the timeline for him right now, but I think I might take it too. It would probably depend. Mondesi's he's not a one category guy. We've talked about that before, but he's such a one category guy on the other hand that if I looked at my steal standings and I thought, if I can get Mondesi back at the All-Star break, I can pass like 7 teams in steals in the second half. Then I got to wait. If I looked at the steal standings and I was like, all right, I'm doing pretty well, or I'm not doing well, but I'm way behind. Like this Mondesi plan did not work. I'm second last in steals, and the person, there's only one guy within 20 steals of me. Then I would be interested in taking Franco. I think that's a really interesting offer. It's just, I always find like when it comes to trading, I always try to keep an open mind, and people will say like, well, you've been waiting on Franco. You've been stashing him all year. Like you got to keep him and use him now. And like, you can do that for sure if nobody gives you a really good offer, but man, like why not at least just look around? Right? Like send out offers to a few people who maybe could use a shortstop or could use hitting period or also we talked about this a little bit last week that I wrote that recent article about know the guys in your league when you can. And if you got a guy in your league who you think loves prospects or just loves optimism, go to him right now and be like, hey, I've got Franco. You've got a boring old veteran, Franco for Jose Abreu. Who says no? Like put the offers out there.
Sure. I see Franco for Brandon Woodruff straight up. Now
that's a great trade.
And the only I could see that in a dynasty, maybe pulling that, as the getting Woodruff, as the Woodruff guy, maybe getting it. You need that long-term boost. But this year I also see Franco straight up for Alek Manoah. And I don't know of a context where I'd prefer Manoah.
No,
I can't think of a single one.
No.
Anyhow, check it out. Check out Yahoo's feature there. I love that you can do that. Just go to in your league page if you're there. Go to research, go to trade market, put in the player's name. You can see all the trades that have happened there. It's some wild stuff, and unfortunately, you don't always get the context. But I think it's an interesting starting point there. Going back to our topic, though, initial topic like pitchers and all this. Yesterday was check the ball day, or check the pitcher day, and then you got that layer of uncertainty. You've got just the wear down factor. You got, maybe they should have had a shorter schedule. Star Platinum suggests that they should have had a 120 game schedule. Next year, there'll be more injuries. There's a problem, on the field product wise, I'm fine with that. But here's the problem. There's too much money that can be lost on a 120 game schedule, both the players and the owners, both. Unless the players are getting full payment for those 120 games, which they're not, we know they're not, the owners would definitely try to pro rata it. That's a no-go right from the get-go there. I mean, and I get it from the player standpoint. There's a limited career span. Just look at all the number of the players that got hurt this year. And it's not just, they're getting hurt now. They're not getting, we haven't even, that's not a workload related issue. It's June and all these guys have gone down. Mike Trout didn't get hurt because they have a 162 game schedule. He just got hurt because he's playing baseball. He's fine. Don't worry about Mike Trout, but there's a lot of young players that aren't in the same sort of boat.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the 120 games would be interesting. It would keep the pitching from maybe being such a mess later in the season. But yeah, like you said, it ain't happening. Like they need and want the gate revenue. We'll see where things go in the off season and next year if we start on time. But for now, like from a fantasy perspective, like you're navigating 162, you're navigating like 27 weeks, like get ready and have a plan. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I hear you on that. We titled this as Byron Buxton gets hurt again, so I suppose we should probably bring that up. We took, Reds Twins play today. It was Buxton is out for at least another month, broken bone in his hand. They don't have a center fielder. They just don't when Buxton is out. This is a big loss.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Huge loss for the Twins. For fantasy managers, like it's a huge loss, although you've basically been playing without Buxton for a while, right? Like he wasn't back. He played 3 games in June. He played 6 games in May. Like you basically got April out of him. Since the start of May, he's played 9 games. Depending on your lineup settings, and when you could have brought him back in, you may not have had any of them or almost none of those 9 games from him. Yeah.
So what's the action here from a fantasy standpoint? I mean, I don't think you can cut him, even though it's another whole month because he's just too good. But at the same time, if you don't have IL spots or limited IL spots, it's also really difficult to hold on to him.
Yep, absolutely. But, and this one's bad luck. That being said, this is I hate to say it. I don't like raining on an injured player, but this is Buxton's career. Like this is his career. Look at his career game logs. Like he gets hurt every year. He gets hurt multiple times most years. He's played in 100 games once in his career. I'm not faulting him for any of it. I'm not saying he's not tough or anything like that.
Right.
But between the way he plays, his body, whatever, and this isn't his first injury this year. It's not like he was cruising along with 60, 65 games played right now. And then all of a sudden has this broken hand and misses a month. Like he'd already been hurt and he was out for a while the first time he was hurt. I've always felt that some players are more brittle than others, and it's not a knock on their toughness. It's just human bodies are not all the same.
Yeah.
And maybe he's brittle. I'll give you a great example. I love Troy Tulowitzki. I loved him when he was on the Blue Jays. I think he's brittle. I think his body just tends to get injured. It just does. He's an awesome athlete too. Like it's not like he's an unathletic baseball player who just stands there and hits home runs with a big beer belly on him. Like he's a great athlete, but he just seems to be brittle. One of my Tulo Blue Jays memories is there was a play when he was on the Blue Jays where he ran into Kevin Pillar, going for a pop-up. And sure enough, Tulo went on the IL, and I don't think he went on the IL because it was September, but Tulo was hurt and missed a bunch of games, and Pillar was fine. And again, totally probably luck, and people are going to be listening to this, some and be like, that's crazy. It's just one play, things like that. Go back and look at Kevin Pillar's career and the very, very small amount of injuries and how many times he dove for baseballs and ran into things. He just seems to Pillar just seems to have a body that just isn't brittle. It runs into things and it's okay. And Tulo seems to have a body where it just seems to be brittle sometimes. And I wonder if Buxton just is a little bit brittle, not necessarily because of what happened yesterday, but just his career on the whole.
Yeah, and of course, there's a huge amount of luck too. I mean, like he got hit by a pitch. It's where you get hit by that pitch. Jeff Bagwell, was unlucky for a couple of years in a row, getting hit by the same spot, suffered the broken hamate bone, but then got the hamate bone replaced or taken out, I should say, not replaced. You don't get it back. And then also started wearing that guard and was fine the rest of his career. But he had a fragile reputation. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it can just be bad luck too.
Well, in Buxton's career, here we go: groin, migraines, toe, wrist, concussion, left shoulder, right hip, and now left hand. So like name a body part that hasn't been injured. He has not had an oblique strain, which is a popular baseball
injury.
Hey,
you're just cursing that. That's going to happen now. Totally.
And knowing Buxton, he'll miss 7 weeks when he has that oblique strain. But that's in his career. He's just like a lot of things tend to go wrong. Anyways, super talented guy. I'm not saying he's not tough or anything like that. A great fielder. And was coming in and is coming into his own as a hitter, but we're going to be left with the same Buxton conundrum next March that we just had, where there's going to be people in the Buxton camp who are going to be like, we'll see what it ends up with. He had a 940 OPS last year, get him early. And then we're going to have people like me, who I'm sure are going to be saying, he played 70 games last year, don't get him early. And we'll see how next year plays out. But, do
you know which camp you're going to be in yet?
100%. I'll be in the don't draft Buxton. I'll be in the project Buxton for 300 at bats. And then if you can get him at that projection, go ahead and take him. Maybe 400. I'll get a little optimistic. Project him for 400 at bats. He's only even got to 300 once in his career. I'll project him for 400. I'll never get him. Like just the projection of 400.
He's in the same bucket as Giancarlo Stanton, basically.
100%. Yeah, for sure. So I'll project him conservatively on playing time. Someone else in my league won't. They'll project him to play 140 games, and then that person can have him, and I won't. And there'll be a year where I'm probably spectacularly wrong on him, and it looked like it was going to be this year, briefly. Yeah. But yeah, I always say there's picks that look better in April than they do in September, and it's the injury prone guys sometimes can come out hot. But anyways, if you have for this year, if you have him, like you're stuck with him, and he could light it up in the last 2.5 months. We'll see when he gets back, but he could light it up for a couple months this season and still help you a lot.
Yeah, and that's the funny thing is, so he could go crazy in August and September, and that's what people will remember. Right. And, he'll go in the 8th round again, as opposed to the 15th or 16th, which he probably should for that.
Would be I was going to say that would be classic Byron Buxton. He comes back from the injury. He's not good right away because he's coming back from a broken hand. So we give him a bit of a mulligan on that. And then he hits like 7 home runs in September, and just the hype train just roars in the offseason.
That's right.
Started hot. Go ahead. I
used the Yahoo trade evaluator, by the way, just to see what people are going. Today alone, got traded up straight up for Clayton Kershaw. There's got to be a salary thing.
That's ridiculous. Yeah.
That. There's no other way around that. Tommy Pham. Okay.
I'll take Tommy Pham. He's been great.
But injury prone guy in his own right. Aaron Savali, who got hurt yesterday, finger issue or hand issue there. 10 wins so far this season, but not great ratios, and strikeouts are down, and now he's hurt. That's an interesting challenge trade to me.
I'll take Buxton because I think if I had to guess, I don't think they know much about Savali yet, but I'll say that maybe they come back at roughly the same time, so then it becomes a matter of just who I would rather have. So I think I'd take Buxton.
Okay. Very good. Before we move on, talking Dodgers, a quick note from our sponsors. We are sponsored by WynnBET, and if you can bet on sports in your municipality online, go to wynnbet.com, WYNN. We thank them for the sponsorship. We're also going to insert a couple quick ads here for those listening on the podcast. All righty then. Now that we're done with that, those of you who are streaming, lucky you didn't have to hear those ads. Big series going on. Dodgers and Padres. Julio Urias did not pitch all that well, and his recent outings haven't been that great, Fred. Over his last 5 outings, he's thrown 25 innings. He's got a 6.31 ERA, a 4.31 xFIP, so it could be better. But 33 hits in that 25 and 2/3, 10 walks, up to 88 innings pitched. We're talking about the attrition on the relievers, obviously, in the starters, younger starters. This is going to be a big issue too.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And he hasn't been great lately. That being said, I kind of broke that one down start by start. So the strikeouts are down a little bit. Like he was having games earlier in the season where he was striking out like 8-10 batters. And in all of the last 5 starts, how good for consistency. He has exactly 5 strikeouts in all of those last 5 starts. The walks are up a bit. That means mostly because last night he walked 4, but he did have 2 walks in 3 of the other 4 games. He's also had some bad luck. He's had in those 5 starts, he has a 370 BABIP against. So, and sometimes that can force pitchers into tough situations that they just aren't as comfortable in. Like when you're cruising, everything's going great, then that's great. You know, you have some bad BABIP luck. You get a couple guys on base, you know, you start getting a little too fine with your pitches, you walk a guy and the whole thing snowballs. So he maybe hadn't faced much adversity. So, and he had, I mean, really what he's got there is he's got 2 bad starts in those last 5 at the beginning of the stretch against the Giants, at the end of the stretch against the Padres. And in the middle, he's got 3 decent starts, like 6 runs allowed, 6 earned runs in those 3 starts, but not going, well, actually deep enough, 5, 6, and 5 2/3. And the opponents in those are fine. Like Pittsburgh's weak, but Atlanta and Philly are okay National League teams at offenses at least. So
yeah, that's true.
I'm not too worried. It could be an innings thing, but we could also, you don't know. Could this be a change to what he's got on his fingers when he's throwing the baseball kind of thing and he walks a few more batters?
It could be like hotter out too thing. It could be that, you know, it's a lot of things.
Yeah. Like we're all focused in on Trevor Bauer and Garrett Cole and a couple guys like that right now, but they keep saying 70% of the pitchers or whatever it was, a huge percentage of pitchers were using some sort of substances. You know, could he be someone who was benefiting from them? He's also given up at least 1 home run in all those starts and 2 last night.
Yeah, so, and going back even one more to the 10 strikeout game against the Giants, he also gave up a homer in that one. 13 homers so far in 15 games. By the way, credit to attribution to Brendan Tuma for a lot of the getting that topic going on Urias there, and you can follow him on Twitter at Too Much Tuma, Tuma. Just so you know, not Tuna, but Tuma. So just anyways, but big series. You know, Darvish was awesome last night. Dave Roberts said after the game he would have done this against anybody. Last night, 11 Ks in 6 innings. He was pretty much unhittable. Really looked good.
Absolutely. And I was looking at Darvish the other day because we talked all season about how the aces were really holding up, and then all of a sudden now they're not. You know, with Bieber going down and Scherzer's just coming back now and things like that. And Darvish has been like really good and really steady, and so far so good. Like I don't think we're out of, to me with Darvish's injury history, like I don't think we're totally out of the woods until the season ends, but so far he's been everything that you expected, and the Padres are good, and I think he's easily in the top 5 pitchers for the remainder of the season. And I just off the top of my head, I think he could make a case for putting him in the top 3, like after DeGrom and Cole.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm really, I'm really eager to see how he holds up down the stretch. He also, by the way, had a huge spike in, or decline in walk rate starting in 2019. Got to wonder, did he start spider attacking and all that? Is he going to be affected by it? Last night, obviously, he wasn't. Every single pitcher basically got searched yesterday. At least I know starting pitchers after the first round. I think it was every pitcher though. And at least they're doing it like between innings, and they're not doing it right there on the mound, so they're not slowing things down too much. But I don't know; it's going to be cumbersome, I think.
Yeah, I know the little kid fairness side of me says if they're searching. It looks like they're searching every pitcher, so that's good. Once or twice during a start or during the relief appearance or whatever. I think that's good. What I don't love is when. I don't really love what Major League Baseball did here in the middle of the season. I think probably this was a change for the beginning of tell these guys in November, December, or before, at least some point before spring training. That being said, like I hate it when leagues say they're going to do something and then they don't really, or they make an example out of one guy, but then you get these reports that most of the pitchers aren't being searched and everything. Like if you're going to do it fairly, every pitcher, every game, every starter, every game, once or twice. and do the relievers, on a regular basis. Like if you're going to do it, I guess do it properly.
I think that's a good point. While we're talking Padres, David Donahue says, on the other hand, Snell looks terrible, and he does. Now, I would implore you to look at the home road splits with him. He's so much better at home than he is on the road. This is one of those things. If you look at a course of the season, now, granted, it's not always been the case, but if you look at his splits, actually it kind of has, but this year it's super extreme. 165 at home in 32 innings, 0.98 whip. On the road, 1036 and 223. So it's really odd to see that. You look at his game log. His last start was on the 16th. It was at Coors Field. Gets an extra day of rest. His previous start was at New York. So yeah, it kind of holds up, that home road split thing. But the last two home starts, 11 and 10 Ks respectively. He's only pitched 2 starts at home in the last 7 outings. So he needs, or 8 outings even. He needs some more home cooking stat.
It's true. When I break down his schedule, he has had some really nice home cooking matchups. Like his last matchup where he got the 10 Ks was home against the Mets on June 4th. And that's like right when the Mets were peak, where we were all making fun of their lineup because they were missing so many regulars. And then his previous start where he got the 11 strikeouts was home Rockies. And I honestly think the Rockies on the road this year is the best matchup you can get. Like consistently, like there'll be teams that like where the Mets ran into injuries where maybe a team for a couple weeks could be the most favorable matchup a pitcher could have. But I think the Rockies on the road are just such a favorable matchup. And but his other home starts were like, okay, he had a couple home San Fran. They were like 5 innings, 2 runs. They were okay. He started the season with a home Arizona, which is pretty favorable. It was okay. He didn't even finish 5 innings, to be all honest. But I haven't come around on Blake Snell. I'm in 10-team leagues. I drop him in 12s. I guess I'd keep him.
Yeah. I actually picked him up in an auto no league where he got cut, and you start bidding on half his salary. So thought, okay, let's take the chance. I did have him benched for the core start, did not have him benched for the City Taxpayer Field start. So, a little good, a little bad, but, nonetheless, I'm still hanging on. Will I have him active tonight? I probably will. We'll see. I mean, they might get Max Muncy back tonight. I think they're getting Cody Bellinger back tomorrow. They're getting Corey Seager back sometime next week. It's not their best line. Mookie Betts did homer yesterday. Will Smith's starting to heat up. He homered yesterday in the loss. So there's some things to look forward to, but they still, this is not their top lineup.
No. So has Snell become a streamer? Like to what point? So he had the at Coors terrible. His other terrible was at Houston. At Houston's not a bad park, but Houston's been like I keep saying they're right near the top of my list of offenses I'm trying to avoid with my pitchers. They don't strike out much, so there's not a lot of upside there. They typically throw a pretty good starter, so the win potential is not great. And their lineup's been effective, in terms of OPS, in terms of scoring runs. So I feel like there's almost like 3 classes of pitchers. There's set and forget pitchers. There's almost set and forget, like you put them in your lineup and you leave them except for at Houston, at Colorado, at Boston, something like that. And then there's the streamers. So I think Snell, for me, I don't even think he's an almost set and forget. I think for me right now, he's probably a full streamer. If I see a home to Arizona, he's in. If I see an at the Dodgers, he's out. Or home to the Dodgers.
He's somewhere between category 2 and 3 for me.
Yeah.
And it's because the strikeouts are there. 85 strikeouts still. He's still getting you tons of Ks.
Yep.
But yeah, quicker trigger on the benching, but not quite like, a total streamer. It's not like I'm ever cutting him. A streamer I'm willing to cut, right? That's what. So he's always going to stay on my roster. And if I'm in like NL Tout, NL Labor, I'm just taking my punishment when it comes bad, because you're not going to win an NL only league while trying to bench him or I think if you try to trade him, maybe, but good luck with that too, trying to find the right price.
Yeah. I was noticing that the tricky thing with him, so he only has 2 wins this year, which makes sense. He hasn't pitched well. He's not even given himself a chance to get wins. In his last 8 starts, He's only gone 5 innings twice. Like, it's not like he hasn't got a win because he hasn't pitched well or he hasn't got run support.
Right.
He actually isn't even eligible for a win. Like, he needs to start consistently throwing 5 innings. I try to never roll out starters who I don't think will be allowed to or can throw 5 innings. So he needs to consistently throw 5 innings. Like, the potential is there. If he pitches a little better, he can throw 5 innings. I think his pitch counts they're not that high. Like, I guess because he's not doing well. They're around 80,
right.
85s and 70s. But if you're not pitching well, they're going to pull you at 80 pitches.
A lot of Blake Snell trades on Yahoo. Looking at those right now while we're talking. So forgive me if I'm distracted, but Blake Snell for Odubel Herrera. Okay, I'll take that. I can give up Herrera for that chance, no problem. Blake Snell for Patrick Corbin. My problem for yours. Although Corbin pitched well in his last 2 outings.
That's an interesting one. I would take Snell. I'm not a Corbin guy at all anymore. I would take Snell because Corbin's not getting the strikeouts. So I think I would take Snell and I would use him as a bit of a streamer for now and cross my fingers. And like you say, using him at home, I don't totally buy just because it's not like I know it's a good park to pitch in, but it shouldn't explain such a big discrepancy. But I probably use him at home, some favorable road starts for now. And then hopefully he gets better. Corbin, I'm not out on him, but I don't really want to pick him up.
Fair enough. I did pick him up in a second chance league because it's just
okay.
I'm using him this week against the Marlins, and I'm going to sit him next week against I think it's the Rockies, and obviously in course, not in Washington.
When you say pick him up, you mean off waivers?
Yeah, off waivers.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, I think he's a plus streamer as far as I'm concerned. But
he's a guy who he was awful in his first 2 starts. Since then, he's just been like. I know he had a couple good starts there, but he's mostly just been like kind of consistently mediocre. A couple bad starts with 4 runs. Some 3s, some 2s. Like, he isn't good. He keeps getting he has a little more strikeouts in the last couple starts, but mostly just gets 3 to 5 strikeouts. He's just consistently kind of blah. So, like you said, you can pick some matchups. Yeah,
I think that's right. So I mentioned Bellinger and Muncy. Muncy we just got a note. He's officially reinstated. Bellinger's coming back tomorrow. You asked, who would you rather own? It was crazy to ask that in March, but here we are, and Bellinger's had 3 different injuries and has done very little. Muncy, he's had a slump, but he's also done a lot of good things too. I think it's a legit question.
Oh, absolutely. And my answer might be Muncy. It just may not be Bellinger's year. It could still turn around. I'm not saying I give away Bellinger. I don't know if people totally realize how good Muncy's. Well, I guess he's still just been Muncy. I guess I shouldn't say how good he's been. He's turned around from last year when last year he couldn't hit for average and it was just all power. Like if you look at his paces this year, they're pretty much classic Muncy paces. Like he's on pace for mid-30s homers. Well, perfect. Right. He had 35 in 2018 and 19. A couple steals, but it's the 264 average. Well, 2018 263, 2019 251. Like if I can get from Muncy 250 plus on the average, 35 homers, and then like up around 90 in runs and RBIs, which he's on pace for. Is Bellinger going to beat that?
Yeah, I mean, is Bellinger going to run? Coming back from a hamstring injury, coming back from the leg injury, where the fracture, the hairline fracture in his leg, which they thought was also a hamstring injury at one point in time. I don't know. And if he doesn't run. What's his advantage?
Yeah. Well, Bellinger, the difference is Bellinger has had those like he's gone to a place in power with a 47 homer year that Muncy's never gone to. But if you think you're getting that in the second half, then absolutely go for it. If you think you can get a 40 homer pace from Bellinger in the second half, go trade for him right now. But if you're hedging your bets a bit, you think he's going to be maybe a little more like a 30, 35 homer type guy. Well, surprise, that's Muncy.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah.
It is. All right, let's move on. We'll do a who you rather for Reds version here. Who would you rather have the rest of the season? Eugenio Suarez or Jonathan India?
If I was being a wimp, I would go team. Well, it's team. I hate it when people do this. It's team context, Jeff.
Yeah.
If I needed power, I would get Suarez, and if I was worried about my batting average, I would get India. But I don't want to do that. I don't think that's very fun at all. So So really, the question is Suarez going to turn? The big question is Suarez going to turn his batting average around? We're going on 2 years now, like last season and this so far this season with BABIP around 200. So is this his new profile with the way teams are defending him? I think I might take India in the upside. I think I might take India unless I flat out just needed power. I think I might take India. What do you think?
I mean, I do need power. I think that's all you always need power.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the batting average is a killer. He's not fast. Which sheds a light on the playing shortstop issue for him and how it is, what it does for the Reds too. Like, okay, this slow guy is playing shortstop. I think I'd go Cyndia. I'm merging it. I think I'd go Suarez. He's shortstop and third eligible still. I mean, he's still on pace for like nearly 40 homers. I think I'd go that way. And man, I'd really have to take a deep look at what it's doing to my batting average.
I think you're probably right. So while you're answering, I did look up their expected statistics so far at Baseball Savant. Suarez's expected average is 213. So it's actually terrible. Like if you're trading for him, you're assuming that you're going to get a low average the rest of the season. But India's is 235. So according to Baseball
Savant,
he's
above his skis, basically.
A little bit. Yeah. Now his X slug and X WOBA for India are actually like pretty much a zero. It's like as far as compared to his regular numbers. So not above his skis in those areas, but Suarez has been below his skis, which I know is not an expression in all those things. I think now I'm starting to sway like unless I just didn't care about power, or unless I was really protecting batting average, I think I might take Suarez. But India's become quite interesting, I think.
Yeah, it is a very interesting question, and one I hope I don't have to answer again. But I think so. I think it's something good there. Want to talk a little fab this week? You picked up Chas McCormick, so did I in a league.
Okay.
I needed him in, and he gave us a couple of hits yesterday against the Orioles in that rain delay game. I think he got us a couple of hits. I know he had at least one. No, it was only one hit. It was 1 for 6, actually.
I know.
Struck out 4 times.
He started well. He started hot, and then he got that hit early, and then, yeah. Oh, well.
But he has 8 homers this season, 2 bags. We might get Kyle Tucker back as early. We'll get him pretty soon back, I think.
Yep.
I know I saw like reports on him, like, warming up out in the bullpen or something yesterday, but he hasn't been activated. He's not in the lineup today. So another day for McCormick in the lineup. I think he's useful. And the Astros are in a 20 games in 20 days stretch. They're playing Baltimore. They're playing Detroit over the weekend. They're hosting Baltimore again. Then they're hosting Cleveland without Bieber, without Plesac, and probably now without Savali too. So great stretches schedule wise.
Yeah. So some of my initial interest in McCormick was, like you said, like he's got power, or at least he's shown power so far this year. He can steal a base too. Like he's not gonna steal a lot, but he's stolen a couple already. Like he could steal the odd base. And that their schedule this week was favorable. And we'll see with Kyle Tucker. I love Kyle Tucker. I think he's an awesome player, but he says he lost 10 pounds while he was sick. So like when he comes back, which let's say is Wednesday or Thursday, is he playing every day right away? Could he maybe come back, have Friday off, have Sunday off, like they kind of ease him in. And then next week, maybe he's more of a full go. So I think McCormick for this week makes sense. My thought on McCormick was, and I talked with Jeff Zimmerman about this because we added him on some teams that we co-manage. I think he should be their center fielder, or I think they should actually at least give him a good look. He started a few games in center field. He's just a better hitter than Miles Straw, like flat out. His OPS is over 100 points higher than Straw's. Like I think he's earned a chance to be their center fielder and see what he can do. Now I don't totally trust Dusty Baker on this, and Dusty's kind of old school. Straw's been hitting for average lately. So maybe Straw just stays as their center fielder. Straw is faster. I could see Dusty being like, hey, our team's got lots of offense. Straw can hit 9th. Who cares how the number 9 hitter hits? We've got a good lineup. Straw's the faster player. He's going to be my center fielder. But if you were looking to field the best lineup for batting, it's got McCormick in it, and it doesn't have Straw in it. So I'm interested to see what they do. That's what I'll be watching. I felt like McCormick was a guy. I didn't spend a lot, but someone to add for this week. And then let's see maybe if I can hold them into next week, what they do with center field playing time.
I think that's a great point too. And the thing is, we always look at it from, okay, what's better from a fantasy standpoint? Okay, because we're fantasy analysts, but defense matters. Can McCormick successfully play center field? I think that's going to be the big question: is how much of a gap is there, and what's more important? Maybe when there's a fly ball pitcher on the mound, you go ahead and you use Straw, and then when there is a ground ball pitcher on the mound, you use McCormick. I think that might be a way that you could attack that too. I picked up his teammate Abraham Toro in a lot of leagues. And I like what he's done at AAA. I like his batting eye, even though it hasn't always manifested itself at the major league level. But I think there's a good opportunity, and I think Bregman's going to be out for a while. Toro was 1 for 4 yesterday, had a walk, didn't strike out, got some power, not great, but I think he could be useful.
Yeah, so Toro was in my bid queues. In one league, he was at the top because I needed a third baseman. I didn't get him, so I didn't spend on him. I'll say that. Like, I don't know how much you paid, but I was bidding, I don't know, 5, 10. Like, I wasn't bidding like 40 on him to kind of make sure I got him. So I was trying to sneak him through on the cheap on some teams. I didn't get him anywhere, but I was interested. He was on my radar as well. So I think you're on the right track there. How much? Not exact number, but do you remember kind of roughly how hard you went after him?
Well, in AL Tout Wars, I was very aggressive.
Oh, okay. That's different.
Like 135 there because it could be a month. It could be more. And you live for now in that, and only is the way I look at it. In NFBC Maine, I got him at 7, I think, for one in one league, which as a contingency bid, which is fine. I was happy to get him. But, again, schedule, I got, I think all Astros this week were good targets. So that's the way I was looking at it there. But, I got him, I think, 1 Maine, 1 online championship, and I think I got him also in TGFBI. I got him in a lot of places, and I think I got him in my AL only home league on Thursday as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, like I said, I did my Fred Zinkie finish second plan, I think, with him in a lot of leagues. But that's kind of your $7 bid is kind of the same thing. Like you're throwing 7, basically saying, I'll take him, I'll get him over the people who just are throwing 1 or 2, like just don't even care really about them. But I'm not fighting with someone who wants to spend 30 or more on them. So like I did kind of that thing and just didn't come up with him anywhere. But I wish I had. Yeah,
we'll see. And we'll see how that works. Let's close with locally. Let's talk about your Blue Jays here. George Springer is back. It's Springer Cast. We're excited. He's in the lineup. He's good to go. They're playing the Marlins. He's batting fifth. Not batting.
You were right. I was wrong. I thought he would bat leadoff when he came back, but Semien just will not slow down.
Oh, the thing is, I was just looking, and honestly, I didn't know until just this second where he was batting. I wasn't trying to prove a point on you this time. And it might change too, but he could go. But I mean, Semien, he's got to bat high. I mean, he's having a great year. Yeah. Incredible year.
I think I think that Springer should bat leadoff for the Jays, but the more I look at it, like you just can't move. You can't move Semien right now. He's just too hot. I think
Bichette and Guerrero are locked in 2-3. You can't.
And Bichette hasn't actually been like totally like he's been good. He hasn't been totally amazing this year so far. Like I'm just going to pull up his OPS wasn't quite as high. It's 804. It's good.
Yeah, it's okay. You're right. On base isn't that great. Yeah.
But the thing with Bichette is he profiles as a nice number 2 hitter. Like he's 10 for 10 on stolen base chances this year. So there's a speed element there with Vlad hitting behind him. And I think really just the big thing is for the Jays, like for years to come, want to have Bichette hitting second and Guerrero hitting third. Like that's what they want. So you don't move that around because Marcus Semien's hitting well. And then Teoscar's been hitting well in the cleanup spot. So I wondered if they would. So I think, and at that point, if you're going to put Springer 4th or 5th, like I think 5th's fine. I almost wondered because Grichuk's hit well this year if they would go all the way to 6th. But at some point, you got to say enough is enough with a hitter of Springer's caliber, who's probably honestly like the Jays' second best player, like behind Vlad, like second best offensive player. So if he's full strength, so I could still see Springer. I think at some point he'll move up, like way up. Like they'll get an injury. They've been really lucky so far. They'll get an injury and he'll be back up into and an injury might put him right up to 1. We'll see.
I think you just flip-flop them. You put Springer leadoff and Semien batting 5th. I mean, Semien's not a huge OBP guy, 350. It's good, but Springer is. I think that's the way I would do it. And, there's no righty-lefty difference. They're all right-handed. No, by the way, no DH. So tonight Grichuk doesn't get to play,
right?
Which is interesting. But Gurriel does. And Grichuk's a decent enough, creditable enough center fielder. It's not like defense is keeping him out of there. So I find that interesting too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think, Grichuk's having a nice year, but Gurriel's come around. The Jays are just really deep now offensively. Like when you start thinking about Springer hitting 5th, Grichuk hitting 6th, Biggio hitting 7th, who has looked better since he came back from being hurt, and kind of said that he played through that injury like for a while before he went on the IL. So you wonder if a bit of a slow start to the season was because of that. So he started to look better, and you've got him now way down in 7th. When they get Kirk back at some point to be a little bit of a credible hitting catcher, hitting 8th or 9th. So it's just a really long lineup if they can all stay healthy.
Yeah, I just looked up Kirk. He's doing like game action and extended spring training, so he's still a couple of weeks away, I think. But in fact, we list his return estimate as 7-2. Oh, he's on the 60-day IL, so he's not even eligible until then. So you're stuck with Lizzie McGuire and Patch Adams as your 2 catchers. But
McGuire's had a couple moments, like he has a little more than nothing, which is like that's all I was hoping for. Yeah, so he went May 2nd. So he's eligible. Kirk is early July because he first went on the IL May 2nd. So early July he could be back. I don't know. I don't even think he'll be ready then, but maybe by the All-Star break or maybe even a little bit before that. So it's just if that team stays healthy, the lineup so long, they'll be like your Reds and have bullpen issues late in the game. Hopefully they can overcome them. They've got a lot of ground to make up and some really good teams they need to catch that I don't know if they can catch.
Yeah, that's a big problem.
That's the problem. Put them in the NL Central and I'd be really optimistic right now, but they're not.
Right. Yeah. Now, Alek Manoah got suspended.
Yeah.
And, he undisclosed fine also. And then Charlie Montoya automatically gets a 1-game suspension, which he'll be able to do. But Manoah hasn't been great lately. In fact, hasn't been great is probably better just leave it, period. He had the great first start. And since then, he had a good enough start against the White Sox, only 2 runs, 1 earned. 6 innings against the Red Sox was really good. Okay, the Red Sox start was really good.
Yeah.
But then he gave up 4 homers against Baltimore. And clearly was frustrated.
It's been a homer thing. Like the first start, great. Second start, 3 homers. Then no homers, then no homers. And those were both good starts. 2 earned runs between 2 starts. And then 4 homers. And I watched that Orioles start, and he was cruising at the beginning. Like I think, I want to say in the first 2 innings, he struck out 5. It was something like that. Like it was 4 or 5 in the first 2 innings. And the Orioles were never close. And I was like, okay, like he's had a decently hard. I'd say he's had a pretty hard schedule to start. Like he started at Yankee Stadium, he started at Fenway, he started at the White Sox, who have a nice lineup. Like I was like, okay, now we're ready to get rolling. We're facing an Orioles team that isn't very good. He's got like 5 strikeouts through 2 innings. Like he's going to roll through 5 or 6 here and have a nice start and probably get a win, and everything's going to be good. And then all of a sudden it started falling apart, and they started taking him out of the yard, and then he hit a batter. I was very surprised actually they got suspended just because like
he was wild all game that game too.
He gave up 2 homers back to back, and then he hit a batter.
Yeah, so it always looks really bad. Yes,
it does look really bad, but I didn't think it would be suspend him look really bad. I thought like they tossed him, and I was like, I think that's enough to say like because really they're just assuming intent because the hit batter came after the back-to-back homers. He did kind of stare the guy down, but Franco kind of stared him down first or 2 or whatever. Manoah, I'm discovering quickly, is he's a big dude and he is a fiery dude. So
yeah, he's not afraid to use that size as try to be intimidating.
100%. Yeah. So maybe that'll work well for him. Like he won't be intimidated by these tough ballparks and things like that. But he's been pretty up and down. I would not cut him anywhere. I would still roll him out there. He gets the Orioles again later this week. I'd use him. I'd use him again. We see, like you said with Logan Gilbert earlier on when we were talking, right? That some of these rookies, like they're going to have some bumps, but now Gilbert seems to have kind of smoothed it out. Maybe Manoah is the same thing.
Yep. Just took Kevin Gossman 10 years, then he was able to smooth it out too. So sometimes it just takes a while, but maybe 10 starts is enough here. But the other thing is maybe he has to adjust to not using sticky stuff too. I mean,
yeah, maybe
we have to speculate anytime with a pitcher like that. Sometimes it's just one more thing that we have to add to it there. Now, granted, now that they're checking, theoretically it shouldn't be. Danny Duffy's coming off the IL. I think he's pitching. Someone's Star Platinum
tomorrow,
said tonight, but I believe it is tomorrow. But but he's going to be limited in his first start back. I probably won't be, I'm not using it. I think we held on to him in one league where even in one of our mains, but it's tough to hold on to a guy that long. He will be limited. It's against the Yankees. So this is essentially a rehab start is the way I'm treating it. Don't have him active for this first start because you're probably not going to get the win.
I agree. Now, I think in one of my leagues, he was dropped and is sitting on waivers. I'm interested. Are you?
Sure. Of course.
I think so too. Just the way I know he's got a bad track record, but like honestly, anyone who's pitched as well as he has this year, who's sitting on waivers. We just talked earlier on about pitching falling apart. Like if you've got a shot at a Danny Duffy on waivers, I think, and if I'm right on that, that's a 15 teamer.
Yeah. I think, I think he is available.
His return kind of snuck up on me because there were no rehab starts.
Right. And the type of injury he had. Now, I'll say here, throwing some cold water on this. So at the Yankees in limited innings, at Boston on Monday, worst place for a left-handed pitcher to pitch. And then home start against Minnesota. Did you know Minnesota is third in baseball in homers this year, despite everything that's gone wrong with them?
So now I know one of your favorite lines, and I usually agree with this, is if you're not going to use someone for a 2-start week, then why do you have them on your roster? But Duffy might be the rare exception, depending on how things go tomorrow. If next week is a 2-start week for him, right? But I don't feel comfortable using him in that schedule. Maybe I say, I'll take him and I'll just bench him. And then the following week when he's at the Indians or something, if he looks good, I'll bring him back. Like I'm thinking adding him is maybe more of a long haul move, even if I didn't feel comfortable enough to use him for the 2-start.
Well, and here's the difference. In one instance, we're thinking about he's already on our roster and we need the roster spot for somebody. Okay, cut him. And I can always pick him back up. I'm not preempted from getting him back. However, someone's going to pick him up this weekend. So it might as well be you if you believe in the talent. But of course, you just have to realize, okay, there's some limited roster flexibility as part of that.
Absolutely. And I don't even know if I totally believe in the talent, but I bet by Sunday I'll believe in his talent more than anyone else who I can probably pick up, because it's just been, I don't know if you find this too, but when I start going through and saying, well, I need a starter, and I start looking at all the names and, you rule out a bunch of pitchers because they're just awful. Yeah. And then you rule out a bunch more because you're like, well, that guy's not throwing 5 innings. And then what's left is like 4 guys, by the time you take the John Lesters out, I'll even consider them like kinda, but like you take out those guys, like the Jordan Lyles, like those really bad, the guys who are just consistently bad. And then, like I say, you take out maybe some guys who are typically not throwing 5 innings. And then there's like 4 guys left. And then I put in a bid on all of them.
Right. I'll put in a Zinkie bid is what I'll probably do.
That's what I mean. And actually there's 4 guys left or 5 guys left once I do that most weeks. And a couple of them will be facing, Houston or something that I don't want to get involved with, the Dodgers or something like that. So then I'm like, okay, well, not that guy. And then there's like 3 guys left. And then, like you say, you just put $5 on all of them and cross your fingers. Hope you get one. So finding pitchers, diamonds in the rough might be the key from this point forward.
Yeah, and if you can, God forbid, you find somebody that you can actually hold on to and use again. That's the good stuff there. Yeah. Anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I will say that speaking of finding pitchers, I don't know if I found a pitcher yet, but I did grab Zach Thompson in a lot of leagues from the Marlins. I may not have found anything in him, but so his numbers look really good. He's not going deep into games, which is a concern, but he's at least pitching well. So there's probably nothing there. It's a dart throw, but I think there's, like, for people who are looking for someone, he's thrown 12 innings. He's got 14 strikeouts, 4 walks, no homers allowed. We'll see. But this is what we need to do, like, going forward is if someone's having some success, a young pitcher, grab them and just see what happens.
He's not that young. He's 27.
Sorry, an inexperienced pitcher.
And he wasn't pitching well in AAA before the promotion either. 6.60 ERA.
It might not work out to be anything. So far, he's looked good. The National League is a little bit of a tiebreaker. He has soft landings. His first start was at Boston, and he didn't get lit up. But then since then, a home to Atlanta and an at the Cubs, and in those 2 starts, he was good. 6 strikeouts and 1 and 7 in the other. Like I said, so how about this? He's on waivers in our Yahoo friends and family, and I haven't added him, and I'm not going to. But because that league, the starters, the innings are a little more of a premium, and but in a 15-team NFBC, I think he's someone maybe who's worth a flyer.
Fair enough.
If you made it this far into the podcast, you deserve that last tip.
Yeah. Zach, come for the Buxton analysis. Stay for the Zach Thompson recommendation.
Don't put that in the tweet. If they get to this point in the podcast without that in the tweet, then they get the tip. If you don't stick it out till the end, you just get the Byron Buxton.
Can't give away everything for free. You have to actually listen to some of it.
You got to listen to the end.
Yes. This audio gold you have to actually earn. But
that's right.
All right. On that high note, we're going to conclude today's podcast. Thanks to WinBet Sports for sponsoring us, and thanks for listening. Everybody here for listening. If you do want to bet on sports, and you're allowed to, we suggest you check out WinBet. Coming up tomorrow, we got the Prospect Podcast. On Thursday, my guest will be Simone Dice. We're going to talk a little bit about the MLB The Show and collecting cards from that. And he's also in Raz Slam with me, talking a little bit about points leagues. We'll do a whole lot of that. And then, of course, we got Clay and Todd on Friday. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.